A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching the morning show on CNN News 18. I'm Kohina Sharma, and we'll be tracking all the latest news and updates from in and around the world. But first up, we'll be tracking some updates from the Group of Seven Summit. It's day 3 of G7 Summit in Japan's Hiroshima, and today Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit the Peace Memorial Museum, followed by bilateral talks with UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Yesterday, PM Modi had bilateral meetings with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, first time ever since the Russia-Ukraine war broke out. Now, PM Modi said that India sees Ukrainian war not as an economic and political issue, but rather a humanitarian concern. PM also had met Quad meeting with Australian, USA and Japanese counterpart. He held bilateral meetings with leaders from France, Vietnam, South Korea and host country Japan also. Now, earlier on Saturday, PM also unveiled Mahatma Gandhi's bust in Hiroshima. Let's take a look at some of the details.
I am very pleased to be taking part in this Quad summit today and to be among friends. The Quad group has established itself as an important platform for peace, stability and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific. There is no doubt at all about the fact that the Indo-Pacific region is the engine for global trade, innovation and development. We agree that the security and success of the Indo-Pacific is important not just for this region but for the entire world. We are moving forward with a constructive agenda based on shared democratic values.
We have come to the end of packed and intensive day 1 of the visit of Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, who is here in Hiroshima as part of his, on the first leg of his 3-nation visit. In terms of Prime Minister's bilateral meetings, he had 4 or 5 meetings during the day today. Prime Minister Kishida, as you all know, was recently in India, and today's meeting, in fact, provided an opportunity to take forward the conversation which the two Prime Ministers had held during Honorable Prime Minister Kishida's visit to India.
How do you look at this visit? And also, how do you look at world's viewpoint changing for these Pacific islands?
Well, you see, this is the very important occasion for Papua New Guinea and the Pacific.
Okay.
There are 14 Pacific Island countries in the region. And of course, Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji is visiting Papua New Guinea and the Pacific for the very first time, particularly in Papua New Guinea. And with a 10 million population of Papua New Guinea and a bigger nation in the Pacific, we look forward to Prime Minister Modi's visit because that enhances Papua New Guinea's bilateral relations with the great India and, of course, the Pacific countries. It is also very important because when you look at the Indo-Pacific region, India is very much part of this region. Hence, it is important that we look at India as a great friend and a brother so that our development aspirations can be seen in the light of India's Look East and Act East policy, which is the bedrock of India's policy towards the Pacific.
How do you see this Chinese aggression in whole of the region? And do you see that that this growing interest of India, US or maybe other countries are the result of the growing Chinese aggression in the region?
Well, let me put it this way. We have a strong bilateral relations with China. We also have bilateral relations with India and all the other countries. We look at our bilateral friends as friends to look at our development agenda. Mm-hmm. And of course, we are developing countries in the world. Mm-hmm. Hence, we require our friends to assist us. In that respect, our bilateral relationship is very critical at this stage, because most of us, the countries in the Pacific, require our friends to help us in the development agenda. For instance, climate mitigation is one of them. Management of our ocean resources, marine resources is one of them. And a lot of other issues that will enhance progress our country and get a higher GDP growth.
Well, moving our focus to the national capital, where the political face-off has escalated between the Delhi government and the centre over the ordinance issued by the central government to create a national capital civil service authority that will have the power to recommend the transfer and posting of all Group A officers and officers of DANICS serving in Delhi. Now, the ordinances gives the Delhi LG supreme power to decide on the matter after recommendation by the authority that CM will head. Now, Delhi CM Arvind Kejriwal hit out at the centre, calling the ordinance a joke on democracy. CM Kejriwal plans to challenge the ordinance in court and has called for a door-to-door campaign against the central government. He also intends to seek support from the opposition parties to prevent its passage in the Rajya Sabha. Meanwhile, the centre has filed a petition in the Supreme Court requesting a review of the May 11 verdict upholding the Delhi government's power to make laws and wield control over civil services in the national capital.
प्रश्न ये उठता है कि ये कोर्ट के बंद होने का इंतजार क्यों कर रहे थे कि जब कोर्ट बंद होगा तब हम अध्यादेश लाएंगे। पहले ले आते, जब कोर्ट की छुट्टियां नहीं चल रही थी, जब कोर्ट खुला था, जिस दिन अध्यादेश आया 3 दिन बाद, 4 दिन बाद, 5 दिन बाद ले आते, क्योंकि ये अंदर दिल के अंदर जानते हैं कि ये अध्यादेश पूरी तरह से गैर कानूनी, गैर संवैधानिक और जनतंत्र के खिलाफ है।
आपने कहा एक एलजी को बैठा दिया है। अरविंद केजरीवाल जी, बहुत सम्मान से आपसे एक बात कहते हैं, जिस संविधान ने आपको मुख्यमंत्री बनाया है, उसी संविधान के तहत दिल्ली में एलजी नियुक्त हुए हैं।
दिल्ली में मिली जुली अधिकार की सरकार पहले भी चली है। जब 15 साल दिल्ली में अभूतपूर्व काम हुआ था, पूरी दिल्ली बदली गई थी, तो भी ऐसी ही व्यवस्था थी। आपको रोने वाला बच्चा चाहिए, हर मिनट में मम्मी मम्मी चिल्लाए कि मुझे कुछ नहीं किया कि देने चाह रहा, जो केजरीवाल का तौर तरीका, तो ठीक है, आप इस बात को मान सकते हैं। केजरीवाल की एक फेल सरकार है और ये दुनिया भर पर उंगली उठाता है, क्योंकि आज उसके ऊपर हर चीज़ पर उल्टा पड़ रहा है। भ्रष्टाचार में आज इतनी बुरी तरह ये फंस गया है कि किसी भी दिन, मेरे ख्याल से इतिहास में पहली बार होगा भारत में कि एक चुना हुआ मुख्यमंत्री जो है कम से कम 8-10 साल के लिए जेल जाए।
Well, moving our focus to the state of Tamil Nadu, where politics has erupted over the Tamil Nadu hooch tragedy. Now, Tamil Nadu BJP hit out the streets on Saturday and staged massive protests over the government's inaction in the matter. Now, the protests were led by State Unit President K. Annamalai and demanded action against DMK Minister Senthil Balaji. Now, BJP claimed that the addiction to liquor is increasing day by day due to the expansion of state-owned Tasmic outlets. Today, a BJP-led delegation will meet Governor R.N. Ravi at 10 a.m. and urge him to ensure complete prohibition in the 3 years. Now remember, the hooch tragedy claimed 22 lives in Tamil Nadu's Viluppuram and Chengalpattu districts earlier this week.
It is not that Tamil Nadu, the hooch tragedy did not happen. It has happened previously also. In different governments it has happened. Our thing is to go to the root of the problem and make the state, no state you can make liquor free, sir. But the duty of a government is to regulate liquor. But Tamil Nadu is zero regulation. It is like you go anywhere, Tasmac will give you. In fact, every month they want Tasmac to increase their quantity, sale quantity. And Tasmac is opening outlets. So this has created a culture in our state where we are producing a lot of drunkards.
While we're cutting across to breaking input, PM Modi meets UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak These are the bilateral talks that are underway on the sidelines of the Group of Seven summit. Now, yesterday also PM Modi had bilateral meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Now, this was the first time ever since the Russia-Ukraine war broke out. The president and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi were meeting. Now, there has been a lot of focus on Russia and China, and the core issues that are being discussed in the G7 summit are generally on the condemnation of the Russian attack and the challenges that are being faced by AI. I'll repeat it for my viewers that PM Modi is meeting UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and having bilateral talks. Now I'm cutting across to my colleague who's joining us on the broadcast, Abhishek Jha. Hello, Abhishek. What more details do we have from the ground?
This is also one of the very important bilateral meeting that was scheduled to happen today. And we know that India and the UK are negotiating a free trade agreement. And in that backdrop, this meeting is considered very important because ever since Rishi Sunak has taken over the UK affairs, India and UK have been doing this like for the last 1 year. At least there has been expectation that this deal would be finalized soon. So we can expect that when Prime Minister will be meeting with the UK Prime Minister, there will be some talk or some breakthrough on this issue as well. Besides, there has been issue of Khalistani separatists attacking Indian mission in London. And India has registered strong protests on that also to UK authorities in the past. But there has been other protests by the Khalistani separatists in other part of UK as well, targeting Indian communities, Indian individuals, and the Indian missions building other parts of the United Kingdom as well. So clearly, these are the issues that could come into the discussion when Prime Minister Modi will be having a conversation with UK counterpart Rishi Sunak. Also, there are regional and global issues of terrorism, issues of defense cooperation, issues of cyber security, and all areas of bilateral cooperation will be something that both the leaders will be talking during the meeting.
All right. Thank you so much, Abhishek, for the inputs. We move our focus from this big news to Jammu and Kashmir. And now, as the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir gears up for the upcoming G20 summit, security forces are now on high alert. CNN News 18's Arunima brings you this ground report.
About 50 meters away from Pakistani territory, at the first post on the international border between India and Pakistan, the forces deployed, the troops deployed, are all alert. Intelligence suggests that Pakistan will try and disrupt the G20 summit that is slated, the G20 working group that is slated to happen in Srinagar. Intelligence suggests that infiltration attempts are on across the line of control. Attempts are also being made on the international border. And this fence that we are showing you is part of the international boundary between India and Pakistan. BSF troops are keeping an eye. This is a very challenging aspect of the deployment because this is also an area where there are a lot of vegetations. There are areas where farming happens. You can see on the left, these are farmlands where farmers come out and they want to cultivate, they want to harvest. But right on the other side is Pakistan trying to radicalize them or trying to influence them to work against their own country. So amidst these two challenges, how is it that the BSF, the Border Security Force, is trying to navigate their duties as far as safeguarding the border is concerned and also ensuring that the people here are not put to any kind of inconvenience? There are gates that have been put up on this international border and on these gates, there are proper frisking that is done ahead of G20. The frisking, the checking has increased that much more. What we are told is that these BSF personnel who are deployed check the machinery, the equipment, and check the people, the farmers who are going to harvest or going to cultivate these farmlands as well. Pakistan, like I said, is just 50 meters from here. There are cobra wires that have been put along this fencing. G20, not just our international borders, not just the line of control and the hinterland, but even the waterways are being patrolled regularly. There is a threat that is being felt that Pakistan-based terror groups could infiltrate using the waterways as well. Where we are patrolling right now with the personnel of the Border Security Force is on River Chenab. Upstream is India, and on my left side downstream is Pakistan. Now, as per intelligence agencies, there are various launch pads along the international border and along the line of control where Pakistan-based terrorists are waiting. About 125 is the estimate as far as launch pads along the LOC is concerned. An international boundary, the international border, you can see the fence on my left here. Along this fence is the international border. On the other side is Pakistan, and the intelligence agencies suspect that there could be at least 4 to 5 launch pads operational along the international border as well. We have seen, be it Pulwama or be it the Bantol Plaza incident that happened, there has evidence which has been put together by our investigating agencies to show that along the international border in Jammu, tunnels have been used to come inside. So now that those tunnels have been identified and their routes blocked, waterway, the rivers could be the next threat. This grassland, this green patch on my left side, this is the long grass, Sarkanda as it is called. And in summer months, even though right now the water level is a little high, in the summer month usually the river is dry, and that gives infiltrators a chance to cross the river and then seek cover inside this long grass, inside the Sarkanda. So that is what this patrolling is for. We have inputs that there's full deployment of the border guarding BSF as well as the Indian Army. Where the patrolling is happening right now on Operation Chenab, there is Indian Army and there is a Border Security Force which is keeping a close eye. Just about 30 kilometers from where I'm standing is Sialkot, the big city of Pakistan, and therefore ahead of G20, the Indian agencies do not want to take any chances as far as infiltration attempt is concerned, and therefore all hands are here on the deck. Let me see if I can try and get in a word from one of these personnel who's here. आपका नाम रितु बताया था आपने. अच्छा, आप है रितु. क्या आप लोग जब ये पेट्रोलिंग करते हैं, किस तरीके के खतरे के लिए आप लोग तैयारी करते हैं, क्या सोचते हैं?
जैसे कि ये चिनाब रिवर है, इसका जो वाटर लेवल है वो हमेशा सेम नहीं रहता है, अप डाउन होता रहता है. यहाँ चिनाब नदी के बोथ साइड में डेंस फॉरेस्ट है, तो इन्फिल्ट्रेशन होने का खतरा ज़्यादा है, जिससे कि हम बोट से यहाँ पेट्रोलिंग करते हैं ताकि पाकिस्तान की तरफ से कोई भी इन्फिल्ट्रेटर हमारी तरफ एंट्री ना करे. उसी को डोमिनेट करने के लिए हम ये बोट पेट्रोलिंग करते हैं.
आप कब से मतलब ये डोमिनेशन एक्सरसाइज जो है वो काफ़ी ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है हमारे लिए, जबकि G20 जैसा बड़ा इवेंट हो रहा है?
जी, जब ये ऐसी कोई भी समिट होती है तो हमारे यहाँ एक ऑप्स अलर्ट चलता है, तो उसी के मद्देनज़र वैसे ये पेट्रोलिंग हमेशा चलती ही रहती है, लेकिन अभी ऑप्स अलर्ट है तो इसके चक्कर में ज़्यादा ही अच्छे से डोमिनेट किया जा रहा है.
So this is a domination that is going on because everybody is on high alert. We have seen how Poonch and Rajouri has been literally on fire because of the terror incidents that have happened. One army truck there being set on fire, army carrying out operations because of which we've lost at least 5 Indian Army men as well. And because of those incidents and because of the threat perception for G20, there is heightened alert, and that is why not just the land boundaries but even the waterways are being patrolled.
Well, the security forces are now on high alert as the countdown for G20 summit begins. And we're slipping into a short break. Stay tuned for more news and updates. We'll be right back.
The entire war, India has managed to communicate effectively, rather, to all its partners and also the various groups that it is part of, that India cannot take a stand against Russia, that it believes in an era of peace, because Prime Minister Narendra Modi did communicate to Vladimir Putin during the Samarkand SCO that this is not an era of war, that he believes that India stands for diplomacy, India stands for dialogue, peace, and ensuring that the shortage that is being faced by a number of these countries, particularly in the West, actually is addressed. So I think all that has been, taken care of or been communicated rather effectively by India. And now we are seeing those visuals come in where that meeting has happened. There are expectations a lot, particularly from the Ukrainian side, because we are anticipating that there would be some kind of a crucial announcement. That may not happen, but we are waiting for an official press release to give you a sense of what really transpired in that meeting, what was the duration of that meeting, and can we really, say that has India committed to anything specific?
Absolutely. And when we talk about India's position between Ukraine and Russia, we know that India shares warm ties with Russia. Having said that, we've also seen China make an intervention. The Chinese envoy was in Ukraine and in fact is also going to be meeting his Russian counterpart. Having said that, what will be the expectation as far as Ukraine is concerned from India's role? Because remember the last year in October, when Prime Minister Modi had a phone conversation with the Ukrainian president, he said that there is no military solution to this war and that India is...
Israel and India have a very close partnership when it comes to sustainable development, sustainable energy solutions. Could you explain to our audience this afternoon what is the way forward for storage? Because that's one of the key challenges when it comes to sustainable energy, the idea of being able to store them in a sustainable fashion.
Israel in general, when we look, we are a very tiny country of 10 million people. We are responsible for less than 0.2 of the CO2 emissions of the world. So we try to behave ourselves and to set challenges also to our own behavior. But more importantly is that we are trying to give technological solutions into clean technology in general. And storage is one of the big issues that is dealt in Israel. Just recently, to mention one, there is an Israeli company named Finergy that has with Indian Oil a joint venture on aluminum air batteries. Why is it so significant? Because aluminum is something that India has in abundance. Yeah. And they have also vehicles, but also they're going to give backing to antenna stations, and they have different agreements already and contracts here at this joint venture. So this is one avenue. There are many avenues that we are looking into technologically, but for us, storage undoubtedly is one of the big hurdles in order to make sustainable, more affordable and more constant, and not having to need a backing of fossil fuels to the clean energy.
Hello and welcome back. You're watching CNN News 18. We're cutting across to a big breaking news. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and other leaders pay floral tribute at Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park in Japan. PM Modi also visited the Peace Memorial Museum, where he observed and documented the exhibits and signed the visitors' book. Now, PM Modi is in Hiroshima, Japan for the G7 summit. Now he's also meeting his counterparts, where he's been holding talks and setting agendas for the further summit. Now, the G7 summit is focusing majorly on the issues of Russia and China, where the G7 summit was majorly condemning the Russian attack and focusing the challenges faced by the AI. Now, PM Modi is also yesterday also met his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky and assured him all kind of assistance that India can provide to Ukraine from their part. He had also held bilateral meetings where first time ever since the Russia-Ukraine war broke out. Now, PM said that India sees Ukrainian war not as an economic and political issue, but rather a humanitarian issue. Now, he's also had a Quad meeting with his Australian, USA and Japanese counterpart. He's held bilateral meetings with leaders from France, Vietnam, South Korea and host country Japan. Now, earlier on Saturday, PM also unveiled Mahatma Gandhi's bust in Hiroshima. I would like to repeat for my viewers that PM Modi and other leaders are paying floral tribute at the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park in Japan. And like we can see the visuals, PM Modi has also visited the Memorial Museum where he's observed and documented the exhibits and signed the visitor's book. Now, PM Modi is already having bilateral talks with UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak on the sidelines of the G7 summit. Prime Minister Modi also reviewed the full range of relationships between India and Japan. Now, we are cutting across to my colleague Maria Shakil, who's joining us on the broadcast. Hello, Maria. Can you share more details for us and the latest developments in the story?
Yes. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi would be here in Hiroshima for the next few hours. And thereafter, he departs for Papua New Guinea for another round of bilaterals and summit meetings. And then he would be heading to Australia, where he would be meeting Anthony Albanese and hosting having a celebration with the Indian diaspora, interacting with the Indian diaspora there. So, it becomes important, particularly in the context of what we will be, the visuals that have come in of all the leaders visiting the Hiroshima Memorial Park for that photo opportunity, interacting with the survivors and, laying the wreath for what really happened in 1945. It's been extremely tragic. And the reason why the Japanese Prime Minister chose Hiroshima, because he represents Hiroshima in Japan's National Assembly, and he also hails from Hiroshima. He wanted to send the message that during his presidency, during Japan's presidency, Japan can highlight the problems or what can be an impact of a nuclear war. And that is the reason why when we look at these images, we see the sensitivities that are attached to it, and the fact that the Indian Prime Minister is the first Indian Prime Minister to visit Hiroshima post the 1975 Pokhran nuclear test becomes even more important here.
Well, thank you so much, Maria, for all the details and inputs from the ground. It's a wrap from my side. Stay tuned to CNN News 18. Thanks for watching.